All right. Good evening and welcome. Allow me to take the opportunity once again to welcome all of us into the discussion. Those who are saying they can't hear, just be patient. We have not yet started. And that's why you are not in a position to hear anyone because no one was speaking then. I want us to start, and I want us to be today. Our God and our Father in heaven, we are grateful. We want to say thank you for the opportunity that you've granted unto us for this particular evening. And so as we go to our revision, we ask of thee, our Lord in heaven, may you watch over us and you empower us to begin our revision to the end, because we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I want to plead with everyone to make sure that they are muted, so that I don't keep making setting on mute participants opponents. Make sure that when you join the class, you remain muted unless when you are responding, so that we have a smooth flow of our revision, especially if your background has some noise. If that does not work, then I will mute everyone and only allow participants whose hands are up to contribute, which I always think is not the right way to go, because of the background noise, we may opt for that. I want to welcome everyone as we begin. We are looking at curriculum issues in SNE. We are looking at MEC paper 2016. And up to yesterday, we had done number 1, number 2, and we had gone through number 3 to number 4, but we did not look at the slide with the possible answers. And therefore, this evening, I want us to begin from there. As I said, that we keep on time. I also say that today we will increase on the pace and to which we are working. So let us keep that.
Is now calling for a three-way dialogue, bringing together President.
So you can imagine somebody is watching and they're also unmuted. Right. So explain 5 ways in which learning activities, that one we talked about. I think we go to the slide with the answers so that we save on time. Ways in which learning activities will be modified to suit the GT learners. And remember, as I said from the very beginning, that here most points are just listed or they are just stated, and therefore, when you are asked to explain, you're supposed to explain. For the purposes of our revision, most points here are just listed or stated. So the first one here, you give more complex work. And I want you to take care of this question 3A, because this question 3A, we are going to meet it repeating, not once, not twice, but multiple number of times. Encouraging peer tutoring, that is, allow the learners themselves to tutor or to teach themselves, and sometimes you allow them to be in the groups. You can also give extra work. Techno, come on 18, mute yourself. You can also give extra work to these learners, and you can also do what we call, you can accelerate such learners. Such was not well written. So let me just work on it. You can accelerate such learners. You can also accelerate such learners. Where acceleration in this This is when now a learner in one, for example, in 1 year, instead of covering one class, you realize that in a span of 1 year, the learner covers 2 classes. The learner covers 2 classes, the acceleration. We also talked about guidelines that should be observed when teaching learners who are hard of hearing. And the first one is the preferential seating. Talk about the preferential seating. That is the sitting position as far as are we able to see the slides? Hello, are we able to see the?
No.
Are we able to see the slides?
Not clear.
And what about now?
Better.
Okay. Let me just enlarge them so that oh, sorry, that was size 28. Sorry, I did not enlarge that. So we have talked about giving extra work, encouraging peer tutoring, and also accelerating such learners. We also talked about the guidelines that should be observed when teaching learners who are hard of hearing. We talked about preferential seating. We also said that when you are talking, when you are teaching, you should face such particular child. You're supposed to also apply what is called total communication while you are teaching. That is both the body language, the lip reading, the facial expression when you are teaching, you face the learner so that the learner can also get that which you're saying when they cannot hear you. We also talked about use of peer assistance. That learner who is close to this particular learner, the peer offers assistance to this learner. And then use of concrete materials that can also enhance the learning. Kasera, please mute. In question, Kasera, mute. Kasera. In question number 4A, we talked about ways of creating a barrier-free environment. Talked about ways of creating a barrier-free environment, and the first one is that we level the ground. The ground is supposed to be level, especially for these learners who with mobility difficulties. Remember, these are learners who are having difficulties with movement within the environment, and therefore the ground needs to be level. In case there is a learner who uses a wheelchair to maneuver their ways within the environment, then it is important that the ground remains level. You can also construct ramps for building accessibility instead of the stairs. You can also lower the doorknobs. Remember that the because these learners are having mobility difficulties, most of them may come to school on a wheelchair. And therefore, when you raise the doorknobs, it means that that is going to be a barrier. That is going to be a barrier to them, and they will not access the knob, not reach it, or even if they reach it, they may struggle so much to an extent that it may end up even causing more injury to this particular learner. You also have to remove crowding materials in the environment to create space. So remember that the environment needs to be spacious for such learners, so that when they are moving, there is nothing that stops their movement, or there is nothing that acts as a barrier to hinder their movement in such an environment. We also talked about part B of this question, part B of number 4, that is on the effects of, we talked about the effects of sexual abuse on the school-going children, children. Something is missing, that is on school-going children. Remember, as we said the other time, that a child is anyone who is below the age of 18 according to the law. So many people have always found themselves on the wrong side of the law, especially on the matters to do with relationships between them and these learners. Remember that a child will always remain a child as much as they have not attained the age. And to some extent, even to some who have attained the age of 18, you can still be, when they are going to school, you can still be penalized, and you find yourself still on the opposite side of the law. So we talked about these effects. One of the effects being it can lead to early pregnancy, and whether there was an agreement between you and the child doesn't matter. The fact is that it remains to be a sexual abuse. Some of these children may have been molested, and as a result, they may have been misused, and then they are now dumped. If you look at what is now happening in the two countries that are fighting, those who suffers a lot remains to be the children and women. Why? Even those who welcomes them in their neighboring countries opens the door for them to get in, so that at the end of the day, they become objects of use. So early pregnancy, this will also, remember that the early pregnancy, as a result of the sexual abuse, will lead to automatic school dropout, because now this learner, in habit to maintain or to protect their name and their self-esteem, they decide now to be at home, not at a place where people are going to stigmatize them. It will also lead to the spread of sexually transmitted infections, among other diseases. It will also lead to poor performance in school. And in most cases, even a teacher who has done so, the learner the learner may not do well in that particular subject. And even if the learner does well, you'll realize that there is going to be a problem in the general performance. So it will lower the lower the performance of the learner in school, and then it will also lead to the fear of stigmatization. And because of this, the learner may end up dying. And this may be caused by depression, where now at home, the mother has said, "You are not going to live with me." The father has also disowned that particular girl, and no one may want to be close to them. So they may opt out that if they are the issue, then they have to clear the mess by hanging themselves, by throwing themselves, against moving vehicles, by throwing themselves into the deep waters and dying. It may also lead to early marriages. Why? Some communities, when you unfortunately or whatever, even if it is fortunate, when you impregnate their girls, then who are still going to school, then their hands are tied. They have no any other option but to allow you to get married to that girl of theirs, and therefore it leads to early marriages. And many have found themselves on this side. I know of a guy who impregnated Form 2, and this girl was a Kalenjin, and for the parents to do it in a peaceful way, they decided to give him the lady. That was the most solemn way of dealing with it. Otherwise, it would have been too hard to be dealt with. Now he had to. He was in university first year, and he had to and he had to accept that he was married. You also need to know that even as I have mentioned, I've been leaning so much on the girl side, but that does not mean that the boys are also not sexually abused. It is only that the number or the cases for the boys, most of them are hidden. I think it is as a result of our societal culture, where when you are abused and you are a boy, you are not supposed to show it that I've been an object of trade for a particular lady, and it is only in girl child. But even in girls, these cases nowadays zinasikika, but what happens is that zinakanyagiwa tu chini. Why? Because maybe the person who did it is one of the big fish in the community, and the parent is also benefiting. And so therefore, the parent is willing to do trade with the daughter. So the daughter is being used and misused, while the mother is milking on the other side. The mother is getting some monetary value. This is not allowed under whatever circumstance. This will not be allowed, and we have seen where people have been arrested, and many will still be arrested, those who are found in such practices with the children. I want us to look at questions in this area, question 5 and question 6, where question 5 says, explain 5 ways in which a teacher will effectively use questioning technique to enhance learning. Explain 5 ways in which a teacher will effectively use the questioning technique to enhance learning. That is our first question, number 5A. In 5B, we'll discuss roles of SNE education teacher in the curriculum development process. We'll also look at question number 6A and B on qualities of a good instructional objective, and also we'll look at 5 reading activities that a teacher would use to develop skimming abilities in learners with special needs in education. So let's look at question number 5A. And please let us be raising our hands so that we maintain the silence. Explain 5 ways in which a teacher will effectively use the questioning technique to enhance learning.
1.
Yes. Somebody said 1 and muted again. Go ahead, teacher up.
Maybe by directing the questions towards all the learners and not specific learners.
Directing the questions towards all the learners and not specific learners. Remember, when a question is directed towards a specific learner every time and again, when they fail to answer, the learner feels intimidated. Even if they struggle and answer, they will still have that feeling. Yes, somebody is calling herself or himself Kise. Kise?
By asking a question using a simple language, or what can we say, asking questions directly, not using complicated language.
Please tell us your name so that we stop calling you Kise.
Mwangi. I'm Madam Mwangi.
Right, now I've renamed it. Thank you, Mwangi. Asking questions using simple language. That is, you avoid using the professional jargons. Lydia?
I wanted to say using the simple and clear language to all learners.
Thank you. Christine Moindi is saying that you also avoid bias and leading questions. And when we talk about bias and leading, you realize that sometimes when using questioning technique, a teacher may end up just asking questions that are related to a problem of a certain family, and the child is there every time and again, which is not good. Yes, Frida. Frida?
Being loud enough.
Being loud enough. Frida, are you Frida Mutegi?
Frida Musili.
Musili, okay, thank you. Being loud enough. Edwin?
Avoid reckless statements or questions. So for example, you can come up with a statement whereby you are saying that Otieno has 1,000 shillings. Mudoni smiles at her. How much is Otieno having now? That's very reckless.
Okay.
Let Ogada repeat the question. Let Ogada repeat that.
Ogada, they did not hear. I don't know whether I'm displaying the slides. Somebody saying they display the questions. Are we able to see the slides?
They are clear.
Pascal, what are you saying?
They did not hear you well, sir.
Okay, there are some reckless statements that the teacher may make, or the teacher may come up with some questions that I consider them reckless. For example, the teacher may say that Otieno has 1,000 shillings. Mudoni smiles at her. How much is Otieno remaining with?
Okay. Mudoni is just smiling at Otieno.
Ogada, why not Mwangi? Why only Otieno?
It's Otieno and Mudoni. So Mudoni smiles at Otieno. After smiling at him, you find that that question can raise something different.
Why not Atieno smiling at Otieno?
Why not Mudeu smiling at Otieno?
Why not Atieno smiling at Otieno?
And that's why I'm saying it is a reckless statement that the teacher should avoid.
Thank you.
It's okay.
And I like that example. I like that example because already it's showing us how the reaction will be in class.
You've seen it.
Yes, Ogada.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Rosaida.
Can we also say that we should ask questions that will promote their critical thinking?
We ask questions that promote critical thinking. That is, we do not ask questions that ask yes or no. or leading questions with leading answers. Corretti?
What of avoid asking too many questions at the go? Unauliza hii,
Yes.
unauliza hii, unauliza hii.
You ask one question at a time and you wait for the learners to respond. If it is in the, actually the oral way, you ask one question, you have to give allowance for the learners to think and respond. Somebody was talking. Lydia, are you the one? Mwangi? Mwangi, your hand is up unless you did not lower it.
I'm sorry, I never lowered it.
It's already lowered. Joseph Mureidi. Joseph Mureidi, unmute and respond.
Hello.
Yes,
Okay.
Angela.
Another thing, I think the teacher should avoid the question that means yes or no answer.
The yes or no answer questions to be avoided. Right. Now it seems all.
I was.
Okay,
Hello.
carry on, Mureidi.
This is Joseph.
Yes.
I was unable to mute for a while, but out of allowing the learners time to answer and giving them enough time to answer the question. That is, they finish the statement, not to interrupt.
Yes, that's why we have said, thank you for that. You have said that you ask the questions and you give them allowance for answering the question. Yes, Caroline, we are on the right track. Thank you. Let's look at question B, number 5B. Now, what are the roles of special needs education teacher? So Anthony saying questions should also help achieve the stated objectives. Thank you. The roles of SNE education teacher in the curriculum development process. And this question is just repeating itself. We just talked about a question of almost similarity in one of the years that we just concluded with. So discuss 5 roles of SNE education teacher in the curriculum development process. Correct?
Maybe one is by providing teaching and learning materials for learners with SNE.
Providing teaching and learning materials for the SNE learners. James Ngari.
Teaching the curriculum. Teaching.
Implementing, yeah.
Yeah,
That is implementing, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Assessing the learners, from Caroline, assessing the learners. Yes, Salome.
Providing stimulating activities to the learners of special needs.
Providing stimulating activities
Pascal.
to the learners. Yes, yes.
I need to understand.
Yes.
What this question wants us to, what this question wants us to react to. Because I'm seeing this, discuss 5 roles of the SNE education teacher in the curriculum development process. In the curriculum development process. So I don't know, is it curriculum? You know, we have curriculum implementation and curriculum development process. So what do we think as a team here?
I can try, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm Wafula. I think what is required here, Mr. Kifuma, if I'm not wrong, is that in the curriculum development process, when the process of curriculum development has kicked off and before the end of it, so what we have to talk about is the input of the SNE teacher in the curriculum development process before the SNE curriculum has not ended, when it is still in the process of developing it. So we can talk of maybe some things like SNE teachers, you know, giving that like subject objectives that should appear in the SNE curriculum that will be used later after it has been maybe set in a place. So we need to talk about the input of the SNE teachers in the curriculum development process, not after the curriculum development. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mwalimu Bramwell. Let me hear from Jay Kimathi and then back to Akifuma.
What about the teacher modifying the curriculum to suit the learners with the special needs?
Modifying the curriculum to suit
Hello?
the learners with the... Yes, we have heard you well. You have talked about modifying the curriculum to suit the learners with the special needs. Akifuma?
Now, let me also try to clarify what I know. In this question, the examiner wants us to identify the roles, the input that an SNE teacher can play when the curriculum developers are developing the curriculum. For example, right now, the CBC curriculum is not under development, it is under implementation. So when the CBC was still in the kitchen, what was the SNE teacher required to give? The input of the SNE teacher in developing of the CBC curriculum. Such things like maybe the objective, as Wafula has said, proposing the objectives, maybe suggesting some of the teaching and learning material that teachers can use during implementation of the curriculum, maybe suggesting the assessment evaluation procedures, maybe writing or suggesting some of the books that can be used in teaching or in implementing the curriculum. That's just some of the things that I am thinking of. Because development of the curriculum and implementation of the curriculum, at implementation level, the curriculum is now on the ground.
Wait, Akifum, do you mean implementation is not under the process?
Hello, Pastor. Please let me finish, then I think we'll react on it. Implementation is under development, but implementation stage at development level is not the same as implementation stage when the curriculum is being piloted or is being used on the ground.
Hello, Pascal.
Yes, Abraham.
I think I want to concur with the Bernard. I want to agree with the Bernard on what he's talking about, something to do with the piloting and implementation is part of the process of curriculum. But at this stage, we are looking at those. I think we are looking at the process. We are looking at what is happening so that we can come up with the curriculum. So in this case, an SNE teacher, the input of an SNE teacher, like for example, when you are piloting, the SNE teacher is involved in the piloting process. The SNE teacher is involved in provision of objectives, as our friend has said. I think I want to concur with the Bernard fully. Thank you.
Okay. Rosaida.
My opinion is different because when this curriculum is being developed, they can't get the feedback without the implementation. So development must go hand in hand with implementation so that they can be able to understand whether it is going to work or it is not going to work. That is my opinion.
Okay, now let me stroll down here and I take you somewhere. Then we will be back after the tour.
Okay. Can I have 5-10 seconds, please?
Yeah, just respond. But as I tour you down here.
Okay. Now, just some clarification over the issue of. I want to say, I think there's Madam who has just responded that for a curriculum to be put in place and
But
to
I
work.
think we should consider including the implementation.
Madam, I want to say this, that before now they allow a curriculum to be used. The piloting reports and the recommendations is the one that will help the curriculum developers to complete it. When they are piloting, they are testing it. We have the selected schools and the regions that they can be used for piloting. So the recommendations and the responses from piloting is what will help the curriculum developers either to go on and complete it or to adapt and to add or to subtract. So here we cannot actually talk about the role of the SNE teacher when the curriculum is already, but here it is in the kitchen. They are now requiring the input of the SNE teacher on how best the curriculum will be. So we cannot say that implementation is now that CBC, we are doing it, we are teaching it. So we are implementing, we are putting in place, it is being used. But piloting is whatever now they test, then it is taken back either to amend, to add, or to subtract. So as at now, the points that we have said, they are correct and they are true. So let's not actually engage in much a discussion that will lead to disqualification of points by other members. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Now, I've taken you down here so that you can see a question on curriculum development and implementation. Remember that there is no stage called piloting which stands alone. This piloting stage has to be supported by the other stages for it to gain momentum. It cannot stand on its own without number one, the needs assessment. Number two, the policy formation, the making of curriculum designs and subject general objectives, the syllabus development and approval, development of curriculum support materials, the teacher preparation, where now the development of handbooks and manuals, orientation of teachers, okay? The teachers will need to be oriented before the piloting stage. And now in the piloting or facing, selection of piloting schools, development of instructional materials, then we have now the piloting itself, monitoring the piloting stage, the revision of the syllabus, and vetting of curriculum support materials. And then we get to number 8, that is where now we will have the implementation, where now we will have the teacher orientation, distribution of the syllabus, and then again in number 9, the last stage, we are going to have monitoring and evaluation, where now we will be having the summative evaluation and the syllabus revision. And this is where we will also have the academic board and the course panel to evaluate the progress of what was under implementation through the 8 stages. And finally, before now the other areas that has challenges, weaknesses are now supposed to be improved on. And therefore, when we are talking about this question, I just get back there. Yes, when we talk about this question number 5B, the roles of SNE education teacher in the curriculum development process. Now, when you look at this question very well, you will realize that the question is not specifying, that it is not saying before the curriculum is implemented. Remember the development, the curriculum development process, it carries from the beginning all the way to the implementation. Not unless if the question is asking us discuss 5 roles of SNE education teacher in the curriculum, or rather in the curriculum piloting stages, or up to the curriculum piloting stages. Now, if that is not asked, the questions remain open-ended. And that is why in the development process, it is holistic. It is something which is wholesome. It will carry the 9 stages of the curriculum development process. But did you know that even if you did not go through the way to up to the implementation, your answers that you are going to write will still be correct? So those who will have avoided to reach the implementation and write their answers, they will be correct. Those who will have gone all the way to implementation, the answers they are going to write, they will also be done what? Will also be correct. Why? Because the question is open-ended. It does not give you restriction where to start and where to stop. It is open. So if you go all the way to piloting, you will still get something to carry home. If you go all the way to implementation, you will still get something to carry home. And I want to say that with that, we are now in a position to carry on. Bramwell Wafula. Okay, the hand is up, but now there's no. Let's carry on. Let's carry on. We have talked about this question 5B. I want us to get to question number 6A on the qualities of a good instructional objective. Explain 5 qualities of a good instructional objective. Now, what is an instructional objective? What is an instructional objective? Yes? What is yes? What is an instructional objective? Actually, what is a good instructional objective?
Labda instructional inatuchanganya hapa, but we understand that the objective is a specific learning outcome.
Okay, I can say it should be clear. It should not be complicated. It should be clear.
Hapana, mtuambie maana instructional kwanza.
Okay. Maana instructional. To instruct is to give direction actually. And maybe if we can rephrase, we can say maybe 5 qualities of a good, let's say, which other word can we use? Instructional, just like we have instructional language of instructions, like now English. If we are coming up with a statement to direct a group of learners, so I think they are referring to that. If you say maybe, okay, I want you to go and do manual cleaning, be specific, or
okay, so we'll talk about
which are better words you can use to direct.
Okay. When we talk about the instructional objective, remember that in every learning area, there are objectives that are advocated for to be achieved in each and every learning area. And these objectives, when you are now carrying out your teaching, you realize that the instructions that you are going to give are going to be in line with the objectives to be achieved there. Now we talk about the specific learning outcomes to be met there. And therefore, when you are giving, when you are having your lessons, when you are teaching, your objectives must be good. They must be clearly stated, so that at the end, when you're now getting the feedback is supposed to be a reflection of whether the objectives that you have given were good or not. So a good instructional objective is that objective that is stated and it is given out for clear directionality, because it is from the objective that you are going to give directions towards that which you wish or that which you want to achieve by the end of the lesson. So what are now qualities of a good instructional objective? Oh, somebody has said that they are supposed to be specific, measurable, attainable. They are also supposed to be realistic and time bound. Yes. No one is talking. Are people there?
Yes, we are there, please.
Okay, now that no one is talking, I think we move to the next question so that we can clear the mess and carry on. Describe 5 reading activities a teacher would use to develop skimming abilities in learners with special needs in education. Reading activities a teacher will use to develop skimming abilities in learners with special needs in education. Now, what is skimming? What is skimming? We talked about skimming just the other day, not the other day, it was yesterday. Akifuma was able to explain, yes.
Hii ni skimming gani? Yani unajua inatuchanganya kwa ile skimming ya K. Sasa hii zimetupea stress.
Typo error. Should be K.
Oh, ni typo error.
This one was a typo error. Sorry for this. No wonder somebody is silent, eh?
Yeah.
That was a typo error. Sorry for that. Yes. Right, let's now carry on. So reading activities are a teacher will use to develop skimming abilities in learners with special needs in education.
Pascal.
Yes.
Sasa hapa ni between casework. You najaribu to using heading and subheadings.
Goreti, umenyamaza tena?
Nacheka. Sijanyamaza, nacheka. Nacheka jibu.
Okay, Rachel Muriunga.
Analyzing pupils, pictures in the pupils' books.
Analyzing pictures in the pupils' books. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so there is no any other hand.
Okay, I can give a try.
Okay.
This is maybe skimming. Is that a manner of sorting words or letters or sounds for rather to achieve that better reading requirements in learners with disabilities. We understand that when we are talking about learners with the disabilities, when they are reading, there's something that we want to get from them, not only just an ordinary reading, because now that they have that disability, we have to do all it takes to make sure now that they achieve that required reading abilities. So that's reading with the purpose, reading to get exact content that maybe a teacher wants.
Thank you. James is saying use of the jigsaw, flashcards. Kifuma?
We can use puzzles. Inaitwa puzzles ama puzzle, unajua sasa English itategemea na penye ulelewa.
Puzzles.
Alafu yeah, we can also you can also ask them to identify words, specific words or vocabularies from their story, so that they can be able to follow up and identify the words. You can also okay. English imeishia hapo bwana.
Thank you. Rachel, your hand is up.
Somebody just threw me out of the class. I'm not sure if it's the network or we had a new login.
Actually, nobody, because so far I'm just the host.
True. I tried it.
All right, Rosaida. Rosaida, unmute Rosaida. Rosaida, we can't hear you. Unmute and talk. Okay. So I think now let's move very fast because time is not on our side. Ways in which a teacher will effectively, let me enlarge that, will effectively use the questioning technique to enhance learning. So one, using simple language. The teacher is supposed to use simple language. Now you realize that most books that we are using at the preschool, the grades level are written by people who are well learned. Some of them are professors, some of them are PhD holders, but when it comes to writing, they lower the language to meet that learner down there. So using simple language, giving questions clearly or asking the questions clearly and with the clarity of the voice. And then you're supposed to ask one question at a time. Remember, you're supposed to ask one question at a time. You also need to ask questions relevant to the topic. Your questions are supposed to be objective in nature. What are you planning to achieve with the questions that you are having? Remember, when you're using the questioning technique, it is a method that you are going to use while you are implementing, while you are now carrying out your day-to-day activities in the classroom of teaching. Then you are supposed to pause after asking a question. This will now allow the learners to also think and even respond where necessary, where the response is required. We also talked about the roles of SNE education teacher in the curriculum development process, and this particular SNE teacher will act as a role model. You will also have to keep the learners' records. You will have to assess the children's progress. You will also have to develop the teaching and learning materials, and then you will also participate in the curriculum implementation. We also talked about qualities of a good instructional objective, and here we have three. The first one is that they are supposed to be achievable and realistic. Again, the instructional objectives, they are supposed to be age appropriate. You cannot have an instructional objective that cannot be achieved by the learners that you are having, actually by the majority, because you may be having the gifted and talented. To them, it is not an issue. But remember, in that class, you are having people with mixed abilities. It should also be simple and clear, among others, that we should be accommodated. Now, this question was not filled, but I think that I will have to do it so that in our next lesson, when we meet when the question is already done. So we'll begin from there as we move to the 9-101-103 curriculum issues in SNE, NEC past paper, the year 2009. I want to find out if there is any issue, any question, something that we need to respond to before we offer a closing prayer, and then we leave. Silence means none, so let me request
Professor Nyaberi.
Professor Nyaberi Ezra. Nyaberi, anatuangalia tu kwa macho ine na amenyamaza. Professor, is this you? Or there is another one we are waiting for?
Pascal, tuonyeshange hiyo slides za nyuma hapo kidogo.
I'm going to request any lady to offer us the closing prayer. And before we pray, this is our last class until Saturday in the evening, when we will have another class. So any lady, somebody who is willing, a lady, offer us the closing prayer. Ndio tuseme hii story ya Ogada vizuri. Hey, ladies, mumetoka wote? Mbaki na men, eh? Kwanza acha nione hapa. My friend here. Oh, there is yes. Timothy, tuombe. Your hand was up.
Yeah, I can pray.
Yes, please.
Let's believe and pray. Everlasting Master, in the mighty name of Jesus, we thank you for taking care of us from morning until now. Thank you for your care and for your grace. As we continue to revise and discuss for our forthcoming exams, we pray that your will to be done. Give us understanding, give us knowledge that comes from above. As we are going to rest tonight, may you take care of us and take care of our families, guide us and protect us. Help us seek thy face and live according to your will. This is our humble prayer. In Jesus' name we do pray.